Hello all my art-loving friends. Today is a very exciting day, at least for me, and I hope for you too, because today we are taking a look at these Holbein watercolors, and I have a special bonus for you guys too. My name is Miranda, and on this channel we do all kinds of watercolor stuff, and sometimes we get distracted by another fun art supply, but the majority is watercolor. Let's get into the Holbein paints already. I did show these to you briefly in my haul video, which I'll link in the corner and in the description box below. Here they are again. So pretty, but so teeny tiny, little tiny tubes. So these are 5mm tubes. The bonus I actually have two bonuses. I'm so excited about it too. I can't even contain myself how excited I am. First bonus is this here. This is the Quinacridone Opera, and this came in an art subscription box, and I remembered that I had some watercolor from the mini art subscription boxes I opened when we went through those, and I'll link that video because that was over 34, 36, I don't even remember. A lot of art subscription boxes that we opened, and this opera happened to be in there. And because of that, we get to add it to our palette that we're gonna make today. The second bonus, oh, this is so amazing. I have amazing students. I will just tell you that in every way. My student had Holbein watercolors, and she let me pick some to bring home and try. And she said I can squeeze some into my palette. And so now we have 10 extra Holbein watercolors that we're going to be able to add to our set. These are obviously a little older version than the version that I have, but they're watercolors, guys. They last forever, pretty much. I'm so excited. So now we have, 23 colors, I believe, if you consider the black and white a color. And look, she had shell pink. So yes, we'll go through all of these and play and have fun and make a new palette. It's gonna be great. As far as palettes go, I have some choices. And here are all the choices that I pulled out of my drawers. And I already know which one I'm going to use actually, but I wanted to show these all to you anyway and see which one you guys would have picked. So you have to let me know after we look at these really quickly which of these palettes you would have picked to put all your Holbein watercolors in, or any new palette of watercolors. So this is a homemade palette that I made a long time ago, probably the first year or second year of my YouTube channel. And I had put Niji watercolors in it, and these are, super cheap. They come in little tiny plastic tubes that you can see through. Squeezed them out just for fun and put them in here, and I don't want to keep them anymore. So I could pull these all out of this palette and make a new palette with professional grade watercolors if I wanted to. This obviously, since I got the extra colors from my student, will not fit 23 full pans, but I could make half pans. I just don't want to. I want to make full pans out of them. So that one's out, but that could have been fun, and it's so slim. I could travel with it really easily. We also have this Da Vinci palette that came as an extra with an order that I did last year. But again, I would have to use half pans, so I decided that's out. And I'm actually kind of falling out of love with these little tins, so that's kind of been interesting as my journey has progressed here with watercolor. Then I have this Mr. Pin Airtight palette, and I don't think this is as high a quality as the Magello ones, but the concept is the same. It has the silicone around the edges, the extra mixing space here, and I'll probably just take this out because I find it really annoying when I open this that it always does that. So I'll either take it out or I'll double sticky tape it so it just stays in the lid, and I could pull it out if I absolutely wanted to later, one or the other. But this has, I think, 18 wells. The disadvantage to this is that the paint is going to be in here pretty much permanently. So the nice thing about using pans is that you can move them into other palettes if you ever wanted to, and this, you're just kind of stuck. But I do tend to keep my watercolor brands separate, so maybe not a big issue. I haven't decided. I actually have decided, but anyway, this one is a palette that was sent to me by one of you guys. I really appreciate that. You thought one of my students could use it, and so far I haven't had a student who has needed it, but I have kept it around in case I find a student that needs it. But I thought about using it myself because I think this has 22 wells already, and this one you can see is big, and you could put 2 colors in here. So this would fit the 23 exactly. I would never use the lid as a mixing space because it's just too big. It takes up too much real estate. So with the lid, it's just crazy. However, there's so much mixing space in the center of this. You could just take the lid off, set it aside somewhere, and just use this as is. And it'd probably make a really great palette. Huge wells, nice big mixing space. It's not too big all on its own. It's kind of intriguing. The problem with this one is that it's big. I mean, even compared to this one, it's probably twice the size, right? So traveling wouldn't happen probably if I put my Holbein watercolors in here. I probably wouldn't travel with it, is what I'm trying to say. I still have this little adorable Holbein palette from previous Happy Mail, and that slot was supposed to hold the black, and I will refill it because it came without the black. I don't know, it probably fell out a long time ago or something, so I'm gonna refill that with the black. So this will be a 100% complete little palette. Like, I assume these are the colors that probably came in the 24 set. So this is awesome. So I can travel with this if I wanted to use this. Okay, you see all the palette options. Which one would you have chosen? What's it gonna be out of these four? For me, I'm dying to use a palette like this, and I still struggle with the not having them in pans and not being able to move them over to different palettes, especially with my no-buy and watercolor project and all of this. Like, if I run out of a yellow, it would be really nice to be able to say, hey, I love this permanent yellow light from Holbein. I want to use this in this other palette, but I'm not going to be able to move them. So that's a bummer. So you can put half pans in here and this still shuts. See, still shuts. But then again, I am stuck to half pans, but it would make this a usable palette, but it's kind of beside the point for this palette. You don't want to have to deal with these pans, so I'm struggling. However, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna use this palette, and my Holbein watercolors just won't be transportable into other palettes. That's just all that there is to it. So you guys know we have to swatch these out because I have to figure out what order I want these in, and it's hard to tell from the tube colors what colors actually look like on watercolor paper. So let's do that, and I'll swatch them in my watercolor project method, which is putting them on nice Arches paper on these business card size sheets, and then, oh, one got out of order here, ooh la la. Anyway, that way when I run out of a color, I can come in here and look through this, find a good replacement and use that. Plus, it's nice to just have this as future reference anyway. So when I run out of a brand or whatever, I can come look and see, yes, that's the one I want to replace it with at some point. And I bought business card holders for them to go in so it can protect them somewhat. So I'll be putting these all in business card holders. This is super fun. I'm also keeping the information that's on these cards in a spreadsheet on my computer, and that is really great because I can do a quick search and see what I've got. So I've used the spreadsheet several times already, which has surprised me. And because this video is already getting really long and I am going to do a pretty complex painting at the end, I'm going to go ahead and leave this part sped up, but I will release it later in real time, so you can just keep an eye out on my channel for the video release, and I'll give you guys the information on all the pigment and stuff later in that video. And it'll be fun to see as we go through this video if Holbein's claim that their pigments don't fade, if they don't have the big drying shift like other brands, if that's actually true, because things will be a little sped up here and we'll be able to see that a little better. And here I think it's so funny that I thought I only had the 10 colors plus the black and the white, and I end up with 23, at least so far. So keep watching, because guess what? I find even more Holbein watercolors. Well, even with this all sped up, it is still very satisfying seeing all these colors being laid down in their swatches and seeing them dry and the salt start to take effect above in the previous rows. They've all dried and they look so pretty. Having the salt on the swatches is just fun. Look at that manganese blue. Beautiful. And here on the ultramarine blue, the green got in there because while this was wet, the cat came over and laid on it before I caught her, because I stepped out of the room for just a minute to dump my water dishes. And she came and laid over on this while it was wet. These were barely wet. She was laying on this side, so they were barely wet, thank goodness. But her paw moved some green over to there, and then I grabbed her and cleaned her paw off. Dang cat. There's the palette, and here's how I think I will put my colors in the palette. Let me give you a broader view of that. Ta-da! At least today. This may change tomorrow because I am probably not going... Well, I might pour these in today. I'll have to think about that. It's pretty late in the day. And here is just a look at how I am arranging my colors within the watercolor project. So I am adding the Holbein swatches into my holders. Basically, there's just a Gallo cardboard box for the moment, and I switched that over to the Paul Rubens box later, but I just pull them out like cards and compare the colors and put them in. Basically, it's kind of light to dark, but it's kind of within the hue itself, so it's pretty obvious. You guys can see what's going on there, but it's nice to have them in these little business card holders because I can touch them and all that, and I don't have to worry about the oils from my hands making them dirty or discoloring them or pulling any color off. So I'm glad I went ahead and got the little business card holder things. And I did go ahead and pour my paints that night, so when I'm doing my swatch sheet for the palette itself, they are a little sticky. They are not completely dry, but some are definitely harder than others, just like normal. But anyway, it's really fun to see the swatch sheet come together and the color order that you actually chose come to life on the paper. It's just one of my most favorite things to do. And also, because I'm a special case sometimes, it's a really good thing that I did not laminate this right away because I considered it. Right? We have goodness happening. I put the ivory black in there and it sunk down quite a bit more than I expected. I could actually probably put more in there and have it shrink down because it was kind of bubbling over the top when I first poured it in. That's interesting. And now that it's been a couple of days because I've been busy, I'll have to paint that ivory black swatch in there real quick, but because it's been a couple of days, it has let me see how these have shrunk down, and there's a lot of shrinkage. More than I expected, so I expected some. I just didn't expect quite that much in the yellow and the shell pink, and yeah, it's okay. But the problem we have is that sometimes I can't keep track of everything in my studio, and there was a very generous box sent to me by a YouTube friend here that had this Holbein permanent yellow lemon and indigo in it, and I didn't realize that until just now. And the box with the paints in it has been sitting over there waiting for me to dig into it, and I've been dying to dig into it, but it's mostly Van Gogh paints, and because it was back in October and I have no memory, I have a horrible memory apparently, I did not remember that there were 2 Holbein tubes of paint in there. So it's no big deal. We have space for these 2 paints. I will just put this permanent yellow lemon here and the indigo here. I got lucky that my swatch sheet isn't fully filled out yet, and the indigo is gonna have to like squish in. Maybe I will put it in the middle, I don't know. But I almost laminated this swatch sheet not very long ago because I dug my laminating sheets out of my son's room. It's a whole story. Anyway, I ran out of my normal laminating sheets. Knew I had some in a box I hadn't unpacked from our old house almost 5 years ago. Found them, almost laminated, didn't, and I have these 2 new colors. So I have permanent yellow light and lemon yellow, but I do not have permanent yellow lemon, and it is a different number. This indigo, you're like, wait, you already have an indigo. The indigo that is here is a different indigo formulation than this one. So they are both W298 as far as the number goes, but this indigo here is PB27 and PBK6, and this one is PB15, PBK6, and PR122 with a light fast rating of 3 stars, and this one is only 2 stars because this one's very old. I suspect this is their newer formulation, slightly more light fast, different formulation, so I want them both. I'm definitely putting them in this palette with a big forehead slap, but you know, this is my life. I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now, and this is as well as I'm dealing with it. That's all I can say. Well, you guys are not going to believe this, but I thought I scoured everything I had about Holbein, but I missed them. This is the Da Vinci palette that was sent to me by Kimberly Crick, and I've featured it in a video not very long ago. Well, guess what? There are 3 at least 3 Holbein colors in here, and she says they're the vintage ones, so they're probably the older tubes. So yes, just these 3 are Holbein. So I found a Winsor & Newton in here not very long ago and had to add that. And guess what? They're in full pans here. So we have this, nope, that's M. Graham DIY. So this is the Holbein Antique Pink. We've got Holbein Antique Gray Brown. Almost none in there, but it's in here. And the Holbein Antique Opal Green. So I need to set these in that other palette somehow. Might as well, right? Get all my Holbeins together. So I poured the indigo there and the yellow there. I'm pretty sure if I stick these with, yeah, it will definitely close. So I'll stick these with double-sided sticky tape right there probably, because I'm running out of space in this palette that I thought was too big to start with. I have all these extra Holbein paints that I didn't even know. Here I thought the ones my students so graciously let me use was going to fill my palette and make me all happy, and suddenly I have all these others. But I guess it's only 5 others that I did not realize I had. All right, what other paints are in here that I need to know about? So this is an M. Graham, so I need to add this to my M. Graham palette. A lot of Daniel Smith. So I can add those to a Daniel Smith palette eventually. I need to swatch these in my big watercolor project. That's the only reason this was still out on my desk and I saw these. Okay. I say a big sigh, but I'm actually super excited about it all. A big sigh because I didn't see them in the beginning and just didn't remember they were here. And now it's kind of like, okay, I got to add them in at the last minute. And I did go ahead and take the time to put them on the big watercolor project swatch sheets, and that was kind of fun to see the colors in big format here. Which one is your favorite out of these 5? So in the wee hours of this morning, I remembered that I think I had some Holbein paint in this lovely set. Now this was an amazing gift by one of you very generous souls out there. Thank you again. This is Daniel Smith half pans, and these were poured and dried and sent to me, and it's pretty amazing. So I have added to this, and I have taken some out and put in other palettes. Just played with them in general, so it's super fun. Anyway, the only Holbein paints that I have in here, I was remembering she sent me Holbein paints, are the Holbein Hooker's Green, and that's right here. The Holbein Prussian Blue, which is right here. And then there's a Lamp Black right here. Now, the Lamp Black is a PBK 6, and this is Ivory Black over here, PBK 9. So I should probably take the Holbein paints out of this palette and put them in this palette, except they are duplicates with the exception of this black. So I don't know that it's necessary. I may just put, even the Lamp Black, I may just put in like a spare palette, or you know, where I'll keep these tubes, I can put these. But since they're placeholders right now in here, I'm not going to worry about them. I'm going to leave them in here. If I need them, I can go use them from here. It's nice that I have a different black to try. I still am tempted to take that out and add it to that palette. I'm gonna have to decide on that. Isn't this beautiful? Doesn't this just make your heart happy looking at it? So nice. Back to business at hand. I think this would be a great opportunity to use this GenCrafts watercolor paper, because this is 100% cotton. I got it quite a while ago and we need to try it out, see if it's any good. Unfortunately, it does have a pretty straight texture on it, so it's what everyone is calling machine texture, and I agree that that's a good name for it. So we'll see how it paints out. But anyway, one of my friends on Facebook took pictures of her granddaughter in this bucket with flowers and watermelon. It's so cute. So I think I'll try and just sketch that over onto the paper and paint it and have so much fun with it. It's a little more complex painting than I was going to use for this, but I'm in the mood for it. So when you're in the mood for something like this, you got to take advantage of it. Oh, we've run into a snafu already, if you want to call it that. So I pulled the first piece of paper out, and it's the only one with a glue stain at the top, but my image won't go all the way to the top. Since it's a loose sheet of paper, I'll be taping it down anyway, so we can cut that off, no big deal. But the paper is supposed to be 140 pound. You can see that here, and 100% cotton, but it's really thin. I mean, it's not really thin. It's thinner than my other 140 pound paper. At least that's what it feels like to me. And it's just super smooth, and it doesn't catch your fingers like good cotton paper does. So instead of taking the time that it's going to take to sketch this freehand, I am just going to use my light box and transfer the image, because I have a feeling this paper isn't going to turn out very well, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time if it's going to be a bit of a flop of paper. I'm still going to put my best effort into it, but using the light box today. Moving right into the painting, I just taped it with artist tape or some kind of masking tape to an acrylic sheet that I have, and I like to use that because it's non-porous, so it doesn't really soak the water through the paper into the board. I've had that sometimes when I've used regular clipboards, the water soaking into it, and especially with paper you're not sure of. You can see that I'm using some salt, and I thought that was kind of fun. I was able to use it in several places on this painting, and it was really neat, the effect that it got, and it was perfect for the reflections on the bucket. You'll see I go over that and glaze over that bucket with a couple of different colors, and it turns out really pretty. In fact, it's my absolute favorite part of this entire painting at the end. And just because I think I forget to mention it later, I really enjoyed using the paint. It re-wet easily. I got a high pigment load every time I went to reach for it, and I was not disappointed in the paint. I also really enjoyed using this type of palette. I think that's something I'd like to look into more in the future, except there is one where I think you can put removable pans in it, so I may look into that. But I'm just, like I said, I'm a little disenchanted with the tins. I can't even tell you why, but I am enjoying kind of this more open palette like this. Now, this painting took several hours, and I actually have a lot to say about the paper at the end of the video, so I won't get into it a whole lot here. I'm just going to let you watch the process, maybe put on some relaxing music, and the video's already 30 minutes nearly, so I don't leave much of this or any of it in real time. So if you ever want to see a real-time version of this with a little bit more detail about some of the paper, please do let me know in the comments below. I have all the footage in real time, but I just didn't want this video to take forever for you guys to get through. So I'm just going to put you to music, and I'll talk to you with my conclusions at the end. So I will see you in a bit. All right, guys, I am done. I am so frustrated with the paper. When I do skin, I have to do the softening off method. That's what I call it anyway. And you just can't do that on this paper. And so it's a cute little reference photo, but it's not making into a good painting on this paper. So I think the paper is fine. Like I felt during my first layers, I'm like, okay, this paper is pretty good, but any additional layers were just way too complicated. So I kind of gave up, even though I do see things that still need to be shaded more and all of that to make this a cohesive painting. I don't know that it's really worth keeping, but you know, it's nice to like actually finish something to completion, right? Ugh, just frustrating. I was pulling my hair out, I tell ya. I wouldn't recommend this if you were used to using arches or something like that. I think it's probably fine if you're coming from cellulose paper to use this. Definitely better than that. Not if you are layer or softening offer, if you know what I mean. Just did not work out for me. Avoid, avoid, avoid. At least if you're looking for an experience like Bauhang or arches, avoid this paper because it's not going to give you that experience. And you can tell the paper started to fall apart in a lot of places. I thought you might want to compare the old indigo to the new indigo before you go, so hopefully you've stuck around. So here's that indigo, and if we pull out the indigo from before, so the one on the left is the one that they used to make, and the one on the right is the one that they're making today. So it's a lot more blue, and I noticed that it's actually quite bright. That PB15, I think, in it is making it just boing. So I had to tone it down with my carmine a lot when I used it in the painting. So I didn't dip into this one a whole lot, which is right here, because I was just using that one from the beginning, so I just wanted it to be cohesive. But there you go. There's the differences. Interesting. I'm glad I have them both. I'll go ahead and put them in here. Well, that was certainly an interesting experience. I think I will put the lamp black from the other palette in here and add it to this palette sheet before I laminate it. I did fix the error I had there. You saw that. If you didn't see that, watch the video again, see if you can catch it. I have an extremely fun video coming up on Friday, so subscribe if you're new, if you don't want to miss a lot of new fun art goodies. Yes, I said new fun art goodies, and Friday's video will explain that if you're curious, since you know I'm on a no-buy. Yeah, that's not working out very well. Actually, it is working out great for me. Thanks to people like you guys. I'm going to try this cute little baby in a bucket again someday on paper that I love, like Bauhang or arches, because it is adorable and it's definitely worth doing again, seeing if I can do it some justice. Well, it's always a good day when you get to try out new watercolors. Have you guys ever tried Holbein watercolors, and what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Well, this was super fun. Thanks again to the person that gave me the gift card that let me buy these. It was my best friend, actually. And thank you to my student who let me try all of her amazing Holbein watercolors. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. For me, I am dying to use this. Excuse me. How rude. Hey, ding dong. Get out of there. Get out of there. It's because I put the flap in the wrong way. Dang it. Dang it. Don't put your flaps in the wrong way and then expect to get this out later. Dang it. My hot drink is all gone. Permanent yellow lemon and permanent